Hello, welcome to Irons United for a West Ham Confidential. We've had a few technical issues this evening, so I do apologise. But we're live. We're live with you, or I'm live with you anyway. So tonight I'm going to be talking about the rumours, all speculation, whether West Ham will be sold as a club by Sullivan, Gold and et al. Also going to be talking about the accounts that have been released. And we're going to be breaking that down as to what that actually means for past and also for present. And also going to break down what we earn right now as in the Premier League and also what we would earn if we were in the Championship as well. And then finally, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the board reactions to perceived fan pressure as well. And do they actually change their mind according to what we say as fans, or are they just paying us lip service? Okay, so first of all, let's kick off. I've got the comments, the chat open as well here, guys. So let's just talk a bit about the club sale. Now, this was rumoured a couple of days ago, and it's since been dismissed by the board as well. And Sullivan saying this is actually, nonsense. We're not putting the club up for sale. In fact, they don't have to put the club up for sale. Anybody can make an offer to buy the club at any stage. But here's the thing. What is the valuation of West Ham as it currently stands? Now, if you compare it to another club that is up for sale right now, Newcastle, as was in the piece, that first muted the sale, then you're comparing it to Newcastle. Newcastle, about 350 million, 400 million pounds, depending on which figure you believe. The issue is this. Newcastle have assets. They have a ground. Okay, West Ham don't. So we can't sell something that we don't own. So therefore, what are we actually selling? I think somebody already put that in the comments right now. What have we got to sell exactly from Hammer Wales 08? Exactly right. Now you could sell the value of the players. There is some tangible assets. With the training facilities, and then you've got the commercial entity and the branding as the club itself. But in terms of actual real assets, the club has very little. So therefore, if you want to sell the club right now, it's not going to be able to be sold for 350, 400 million pounds. In fact, I would wager it's going to be a lot less than that. Now, if you take by extension, the value of the squad itself, then you're really buying a very much depreciating asset there. So you're not really going to have a lot of value in that, especially if it's perceived to be overpaid or you've got players that are underperforming and they're performing well below their initial purchase price or what they're being paid on salary. So it's a very interesting thing to think that, okay, we could be sold or we could be valued at this price, or the owners would sell. Now, the other question is, why would they sell? Now, let's put this down into black and white. Right now, why would they sell? There is no reason for them to sell whatsoever, because they're in the Premier League, barely by the skin of their teeth. Hanging on by their fingernails, but they've got very little overhead in terms of the stadium and the running of that stadium and the marshalling of that stadium, and also they're getting lots of money from the Premier League, and I'm going to be talking about how much they actually get a little bit later on. So why would they sell when they've got that? They've also, on the horizon, got the potential of actually getting the stadium being either given to them or being sold to them for a very small fee, or relatively speaking, and without having to pay any penalties. Now, bearing in mind, if actually the club is sold and there will be some penalties up to 2023, and then if they actually buy the stadium, then there might be other further penalties depending on when they sell the club. and it's muted in the region of about 12 to 15%, 12.5%, I think it is, that would have to kick back to the LLDC. I mean, it's a bit of a mess. And I always say this about football, accountancy or football finance. You have to be a mafia accountant to make rhyme or reason of it. I'm sure they have duplicate books or whatever they do in the criminal underworld anyway. But why would they sell? There's no reason for them to sell. There's no reason for them to sell, no matter how much peer pressure or fan pressure they come under, no matter how much negative PR that they get. In terms of business, they're onto a winner. All they have to do is bide their time, wait until they can get the stadium, whether they're in the Premier League or not. For them, it actually doesn't really make much difference, because all of a sudden they can actually up the value of the club by then just having the big stadium, the Olympic Stadium, the one that people or investors around the world might be looking at. Now, there are two other things we've got to consider. Is, do they see West Ham as purely a business? In other words, are they asset strippers? Are they the kind of people that are going into a business, they don't want to build it up, they just want to rape it for all it's worth and then just sell it, break it down and sell it for its component parts type thing? Or are they trying to build some kind of legacy? Now, this has been the argument that they've put forward for some time. Gold and Sullivan, they want to pass it on to the next generation. They want to keep it in the family. But is that realistic? Is that realistic for them to do that? Now, we know as owners, they really don't have the financial clout to remain in the Premier League as owners. It's a whole new ballgame. As a championship club, possibly. Absolutely, they have the financial clout, but not as a Premier League club. So the way they've been operating for the last 10 years has basically been very much contra of the way other clubs have been run. In other words, it's all bare bones. They're trying to save money where they can, not spend too much, and then in other areas they're spending too much when really they should be reining it in a little bit. They haven't invested in the infrastructure. They haven't invested in the foundation of the club. In fact, they've actually stripped the assets from the club. And now they're in a rented stadium, and so they've lost that big chip, that jewel in their armor, if you like. So what do they do now? What would relegation mean to the club in terms of financial terms? There would be a huge upset in the finances, in the income, in the commercial activity, in the profile of the club as well. There will be mass pressure to offload lots of players and replace them with championship quality players. There will be a mass pressure to reduce the wage bill. And would they still, in the future, if we did get relegated, would they still want to be the owners? Or would they want to offload it straight away? Because then at that point, they don't have that cash cow anymore. Even so, even though the stadium is not theirs anymore, or they have very little to pay on the stadium in terms of overheads because it's not theirs, would they still want it? And that begs the question. So whilst they may say right now the club is not for sale, we're not for selling, and whilst there might be rumours, and we all wish they would sell, but the rumours weren't really justified, you might argue, then it comes into this area of smoke and mirrors. Who's telling the truth? Are the rumours the truth? Are they bowing to fan pressure? Do they really despise the negative press? Also, a lot of the media now are starting to pick holes into what they've been telling us over the last few years. They're starting, in some quarters, start to say the same things as what we've been saying over the last sort of few years, certainly in the last sort of 4 or 5 years. The club is not for sale right now, but that doesn't mean that next week, the week after, or in a year or 2 years' time, it will be up for sale, or it won't be up for sale. there is a definite possibility that, depending on how the club's finances go, depending if they stay in the Premier League, will determine actually whether they can stay and whether they can retain this income that keeps everything flowing around. Now, this is going to feed into the club accounts, and I've got lots of information here as well about the club accounts. But I just want to give you a bit of information on what West Ham earned last season. Okay, 2018-2019 season. Okay, the total that they earned from TV and from other revenues as well. In other words, because they finished 10th in the league, is to say, right, okay, they earned a certain amount from TV revenue, then they earned a certain amount for the place that they finished. Okay, for the TV revenue, they earned 18,913,446. So yeah, 18,913,000, right? And that was playing for 16 televised games. Because they finished 10th, they also earned 21,103,000. Okay, so that equates to 120. Yes, so that equates to a lot. Was it 40 so million or something like that? They totally earned 122 million 552, something like that. Right? No, sorry. I'm just a little bit confused there. Right, so I got my figures. Anyway, basically, I got that wrong, but it's 122 million that they earned totally. That's just from the matches and the TV, right? Now, they didn't have to pay a lot in terms of stadium. They didn't have to pay a lot in terms of the extra players that they were bringing in at the time, but they did actually have to pay a lot in transfers that they made the previous year, and also the amount of money that they were paying in wages. Now, the accounts came out for 2018-2019, and that basically ended in May, so it didn't account for any of the summer signings that we made this year, last season. So they basically went from a pre-tax profit of 18.3 million to a loss of 28.2 million. The wages increased from 29.2 million. That's a 27.4%. And that was from 106.6 million to 135 million. Okay, basically that's 71% of the turnover. Now, UEFA are basically saying that actually, to have a sustainable club, you need to have it less than 70%. It used to be less than 70%, and now went up to 71%. They're also saying that there was a net spend of, post the figures for last year, which have just been released today or yesterday. There was a net spend in the summer of 35.8 million, for all the transfers, and that's all the comings and going. I think it was a little bit less than that, actually. So I'd actually like to have a look at that. But here's the thing. We know that the Premier League is going to give them, lots and lots of money. And this is not accounted for commercial sales, which actually, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't account for a lot. And also in terms of ticketing, season tickets, it accounts for quite a bit, but not an amazing amount. Commercial sales from the shop, 2 or 3 million here. I mean, it's not a great deal. They're running it very bare bones, because what they've done, they've basically said, okay, we're not going to pay for assets, we're not going to pay for any tangible assets, we're just going to have income in from commercial revenues and from TV, and that's going to fund the squad, and that's all we're going to do. The problem is that they've got such a high wage bill, such a high lots of players on high wages from last season still, and they're having to service that. They're also having to service the debt owed to Sullivan and Gold as well. This is the club, by the way. Now, in the summer, we offloaded quite a few players and we reduced the wage bill, but we also brought in players with huge wages as well. So herein lies the problem. The problem is that West Ham as a club have not been run properly for a long, long time. I remember when Sullivan Gold first came in, they were, slating the previous administration, the Icelandics, for the way that they were operating. But actually, they've gone on to be worse, a lot worse. Let's just say if West Ham got relegated into the Championship, they would get the parachute payments. Okay, so the parachute payment would be something like this. Now, this would change slightly, but essentially, they get the first year they get 55%, and that will be about 40 million. The second year they get 40%, and that'll be about 35 million. 35 million, and the third year they get 15 million. Now this all depends if they don't come back straight back up, which is one of our big concerns here. So the next 3 years they're likely to get 90 odd million for for being relegated basically. Now each year a championship club will get in the region of about £7 odd million, and they get that in a few different ways. So first of all, they get that for just finishing in the league. So it's not like the Premier League where you get extra money for each higher place that you finish. For the Championship, you get 2.3 million for any place that you finish, whether you finish first or finish last. It's exactly the same. You also get what they call a solidarity payment, which is 4.5 million pounds from the Premier League, because they basically don't want the Championship to be too far behind the Premier League, because they want to make the whole thing a little bit more competitive. That's why they help fund the Championship to keep everything going. Right? You're making sense so far. Okay, I got confused, so maybe you can make sense of this. So basically, that works in the region of about 6.8 million. Right. The rest comes from TV revenue from Sky and others. Now, what the agreement is that they get for every home game that is televised, they get £100,000. If it's played on a Sunday, they get £120,000. If it's played on a Thursday or like a weekday, they get paid £140,000. Okay, that's the club. The away club being televised gets £10,000. So hardly anything at all. So let's say, for example, if you get, I don't know, a few games televised, you can get in the region, let's say 12, 13, 14 games, you can get 600, 700,000. So you're talking in the region of a grand total of about 7.5 million that you're getting from the league. So if you compare 7.5 million to 120, depending, wherever you finish in the league, 122 million as we were last season, or even the bottom club, which is going to get you, the bottom club in the Premier League, which gets relegated, they're on to we're earning about 95 to 100 million pounds anyway. So from 100 million pounds or 90 million pounds to 7.5 million pounds, you can see the massive difference. That's where the cash cow ends. That's where they get in trouble. Now, luckily, there will be parachute payments, but luckily, also for us as a club, whilst we don't like it, because they don't own the stadium and they're only paying 2.5 million, and that will be reduced if they go down to the Championship for down to 1 million. That means that we'll be in a better financial situation or less riskier situation if we go down to the Championship. I know it's hard to swallow, but that's the truth behind it. Now, people are talking about the amount of money, the amount of money that's in the club, and the amount of money that's been spent on wages and everything. The problem is that when we look at the club's finances, it's actually very hard. It's impossible, actually, to determine exactly what financial position the club is in. The reason being is that all these figures that we get from the accounts are actually over a year old in some cases. And so these accounts were finalized in May. They were supposed to be, released in October, November time, and now they've just been released. They haven't really paid any penalties there. That's just, standard stuff. In business, what happens is you finish your financial year, you can produce your accounts for over the next year, and then you can pay your tax bill over the next year as well. So it can be a year and a half down the line before you start paying any taxes. The club finances are very strange. Not in terms of just West Ham, this is any club. They can buy a player, let's say like Anderson. You can play Anderson, buy him from a club, and you don't have to pay the whole money. You can pay in little installments. But here's the interesting thing, what West Ham have tried to do, especially with their loan to buy moves and all this kind of stuff. They're reluctant to pay all the money up front. And the reason why they don't want to pay the money up front, because they're trying to test that player out. And if they don't like that player, then they can offload him. They can sell him. That means that they haven't had to spend all the money at once. Then whatever money they get from the sale, they can pay that debt off that they had, and it's almost like been an interest-free loan. Now, there might be some interest to pay on these recurring payments to the original club who they bought the player off, but essentially that money isn't the bulk of it is not coming out of the club or out of Sullivan and Gold. It's going to be paid or serviced. That debt is going to be serviced by the player being sold. Now, if the player is successful and they do like him, then they can offset the payments anyway over the next 3 or 4 years and until they feel that they can afford to pay it. They're never actually going to pay all that money at once, and they haven't been doing it for quite a while. We are not only are we in a precarious position in the league, we are in a very precarious position in terms of the finances as well. Could they sell the club? Yes, they could. Would they sell the club? No. Right now, they won't. There's no way they're going to do it because they've got the finances. Would they sell the club if we got relegated? There's a distinct possibility they would, especially if a canny investor comes in next year to actually look at the club and think, is it a going concern? But an investor's going to want to have assets. What are they actually going to buy? They're not buying a stadium unless they enter a negotiation to take on the contract from the LLDC and the operating company as well. And will they still operate under the same terms? Or will they say, okay, we'll buy it out now, we'll pay an extra 20 million, 30 million, whatever it is for the stadium. And so it's not just a case of buying West Ham out, it's actually having to negotiate with LLDC for the stadium as well. It will be very interesting to see if there would be any financial investors out there. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. And if we owned our own stadium, I think we would. I think we would be attracting investors if they wanted to sell. If they put feelers out there, would sell, because there is an iconic landmark there. There is a brand which Brady and Sullivan Gold have built up, and regardless of whether we like it or not, to international investors, they will look at that and say, yes, that's something that we know we can build upon. If we get relegated, those vultures, if you like, those investment vultures will start circling around, and they're going to be looking to pick the bones out of the club. So then we're still going to be in very uncertain terms. We have no idea who the next devil might be, as it were. Is it better the devil you know? Well, clearly not, because nobody really likes the current regime, the current administration. But some big thing has to happen in order for the board to go, because they're not going to sell. They're not, no matter what the rumors are, they're not going to sell, because if they sold now, and if they sold in the current situation that it is now, especially with operating loss, especially with a depreciation squad asset, then they're going to basically walk away with hardly anything. If they sell the club, they're going to have to pay penalties to LLDC as well. And they're going to have to obviously pay off their tax burdens as well. You know, all the other all the other shareholders are going to have to be paid as well. So they won't be making much money out of it. Now, obviously, their personal loans to the club will be come into fact as well, so they'll be earning money off that. But when we talk about 10 or 15 million pounds profit that they may make, 20 million pounds on the deal, on the sale of the club, actually, if you think about it, that's peanuts. They don't want that. What they want is a massive payout, a massive payday. If they're going to sell the club, they want it worthwhile. They want to make it worthwhile. You know, and if you know, if it ever comes to that, then I think we as a club could be under serious threat here, because it will be a battle between their greed and the circling investors, the vultures that are going to want to get the club for as little money as possible. It's going to be a difficult situation, I think. Difficult situation. But look, I mean, that was it. I mean, the club accounts came out. There was lots of song and dance today about what did it actually mean. But the reality is that these accounts were from last season up until May or whatever it was, May or June, and it doesn't really tell us what sort of situation we're in now. It doesn't really tell us about the players that we've sold in the summer or let go and got rid of that wage bill, and the players that we've bought and how much we're paying for them. You know, it was reported a week or so ago that they have a very high wage bill. And they do, but every Premier League club does. Have they improved their situation by offloading a few players in the summer and potentially paying a little bit less? Perhaps. But that could be backfiring on them already. The next question is, do the board ever listen to the fans? And do they feel pressurized by the fans? And do they feel pressurized by the negative PR? So here's the thing. The question is, will they sell according to us trying to put pressure on them? Or would they change manager according to us? Would they buy a player here according to us? Here's the thing. Up until now, they haven't bought any players, and it looks as if we're right on the verge of signing our first player with only about 2 or 3 days to go to the end of the window. They're saying they're looking at other players as well. But why is it taking this long? Why is it taking this long for them to actually sort something out? This should have been done on the first day of the transfer window. They should have had everything lined up before then. So that you could argue that they are bound down to pressure, but you could argue that they're realizing the grave situation which we're in. They've also in the past suggested that actually we've listened to the fans and we've got rid of a manager and we've employed this brand new manager, and then we've got rid of him as well because the fans weren't happy. Actually, you can't blame that on us. You can't put that on the fans and say, oh, because the fans said this, you know, we're going to do it. That's absolute nonsense. You either run your club properly or you don't. And quite frankly, they haven't been running the club properly. It's the fans' right to highlight the issues and also to complain where it's warranted as well. They may have listened to fans. They may have listened to social media accounts and all this kind of stuff, but they may be listening to the media more. If the media start to turn, I've always said this, if the mainstream media start to say the same things as we do, that's when they will start to listen. It might be backs against the wall stuff. They might not like it, but that's when they'll start to listen. And that's where they'll start to come out on the defensive. And that's when they'll start to react. Now, will they keep on trying to blame us as fans, trying to justify their wrong decisions by blaming it on the fans? Yes, they will, because they're that kind of people. They're never going to take it on the chin. They're never going to hold their hands up and say, hey, look, we're the blameless ones here. We're just reacting. We just do what the fans want. Absolute rubbish. You know, and They have used this technique time and time again, and it just hasn't. If you scratch beneath the surface, it just hasn't been great, and it comes back down to the same issue that we have with the club and how they've been managing the club or administering the club over the last sort of 10 years. They haven't run it like a proper business, and they haven't run it like a proper footballing business. They might be business people, but they're applying the wrong rules, the incorrect rules, the incorrect modes of operation for a football business. Different entities. And what they've done, they've basically run it to its bare bones, and they've stripped the club of its foundation, of its core, of its valuable asset, and they're just operating on ether, the value of ether, the value of intangibles, intangible assets, of depreciating assets, which are basically players. Yeah, you've got a bit of value in the land, Rush Green, that kind of thing. But essentially, it's naming rights, it's branding rights, it's all that kind of stuff. And the only way they're surviving right now is by being in the Premier League and being with 122 million a year just from sort of TV and the Premier League itself. Okay, that's the only reason that they're surviving. And you could argue that's the only reason most clubs in the Premier League are surviving. But, West Ham have a big issue ahead of them. They have a massive issue if they do get relegated, because they'll lose over 110 million pounds in earnings straight away. Well, actually, unless you take the 40 million from the first year parachute payment, they're going to lose about 60 odd million in the first year alone. So that's a lot. Obviously, that's a lot. The only way they can offset that is by decimating, and I mean decimating, the squad. Every player, regardless of whether they'll be on 50%, there's going to be an urgency to sell those players. We've seen it before. It happens. It will happen all the time. They will be sold. Anderson, Haller, take your pick. They'll all be sold. And they have to be sold. In other words, you can't afford that wage bill. They might just be able to survive if they come back straight away, or we come back straight away. But the chances are we won't. Because the Championship is a very, very competitive league. Last time we went down and we came back up straight away, we were lucky. We were lucky that season to make the playoffs and come back up. If we hadn't, we could have been there a long, long time. And exactly the same could happen again. So there we go. Will the club be sold? It may do, but what would it be valued at? Who knows? 354 million? No, in my opinion, no chance, because there's no asset there. Where is the value in West Ham? There isn't one. And it's a depreciating asset. It's the worst kind of asset to have, because it's the most poorly performing asset, or poorly performing business. And anybody who knows business, if you watch these stocks and shares programs or anything like that, these kind of vulture investors, they are looking out for these kind of companies all the time. The ones that are on their knees, the ones that they can possibly take over for a song, maybe strip down, maybe earn a bit of money. And that's what they will do. But there we go. Look, I mean, could they sell it? Yes. Will they sell it? I don't think so anytime soon. I wish they would. Are they going to leave with their legacy for the kids? I don't think so. I don't think the kids, whilst they keep on saying that, I don't think they will. Would relegation mean a big hit to the finances? Massive, massive hit to the finances. The finances are keeping the club afloat. The finances are paying for all the wages, paying for all everything that we've got. As soon as that goes, that's it. The accounts, the problem with the accounts, as I've said, is that it's just not current enough. We just cannot make an informed decision whether we're doing well or not financially, because those are closely guarded secrets. that's almost like it's almost like gold dust. They're never going to release that information, unless the taxman requires it. It's never going to be public knowledge until it has to be, and that's until it's well after the date. So we could talk about last year's accounts, but actually it doesn't really mean anything. It's this year's accounts. How much we spent since the summer, what our current wage bill is now. And because of the problems of buying and selling players and tracking the money within those deals, it's actually very hard to know exactly how much you're paying for a player these days, and also how much you're actually paying in loan fees in some cases, because there are so many different add-ons. There's so many different issues. I don't know. Oh, God. Here we go. I got a question here. It says, Hammer08. So, what would you do with your life if West Ham finishes a club? I have no idea. Is the answer? No idea. Crikey. Anyway, I'm joined tonight by the Greek Trojan warrior. I don't know.
Yeah, and I might be called Stelios, but I don't have as much money as the EasyJet owner. So I won't be buying West Ham out anytime soon, mate.
Oh, mate. Well, let's. Have you got any news for me? Because I've been
no. We've been waiting on the signing of Souček, but he seems to be still in the medical room, mate.
Right. So yeah, he's taking a long time in the medical, isn't he?
Yeah, I think it'll be all right. I think they'll just bide their time. They'll probably put him out on show. They take all night doing a video, to introduce our new stars these days, don't they? So it'll probably happen over the next few days or so.
Let me ask you a question. What the actual deal? What's the deal details? Is it a buy? Is it a loan?
It's a loan.
It's a loan.
Yeah, it's a loan till the end of the season, with the right to buy, and the deal would be worth 20 million euros. What's that? 18 million pounds. Right. That's what we understand. So it's not an outright buy. And if anyone thinks we're buying any player in this transfer window, unfortunately, you're going to be mistaken, because I've sort of just caught the tail end of your show there, where you talked about if we go down, it's going to be a financial disaster. The last thing they want is to buy a player at this stage. So it's all a loan deal in order to see if we stay up, and if we stay up, then they'll go and buy him. Yeah. So basically, if we end up doing that, I mean, there's talk about that we're looking up to 4 players. We ain't going to get 4 more. If we get another one after Souček, I think it'll be great. I think we need another 2. We need a right back and a centre forward. And let's say, for argument's sake, that we do get another 2 players on loan. Those will be our summer buys. They'll end up becoming purchases in the summer, and then the board will say, that's your lot. So we'll either loan to buy now and have no action in the summertime, or we'll get no one in, stand the threat of relegation, and then we might buy 1 or 2 in the summertime. So either way, mate, there's no money. It's really interesting about, and we've been told this quite a few times before, the board are rich, but they're asset rich. They are billionaires, but they're asset billionaires. In terms of the money they get, they can keep telling us all they like that they don't take a salary. Well, hang on a minute. Brady's salary has gone up over 100,000 a year or something. But the other 2 board owners tell us that they don't get paid a salary. Of course they don't. They get a massive reward on the loan that they've given to West Ham, and then they get the share. They get the interest back on that. So they don't need to sell themselves. They don't need to give themselves a salary. They need to. All they do is just earn out of the interest. Jones, trust me, he's not another Fellaini. Souček is a decent. If we get him, he'll be a decent player. He's 24 years of age. He can play in two positions. He can either play as a defensive midfielder or a more prominent attacking midfielder. So basically, he's the box-to-box midfielder that we should have bought about 3 years ago when Chiati left. I'm not saying Chiati was the best, but he was the last box-to-box midfielder we've had. So Joan, honestly, he would actually be a good purchase for us. He's not a bad player. He's not a bad player at all. But
Let me ask you a quick question, Stal. See if you know, because I don't really know this. According to last year's accounts, or the accounts that have been just released based upon last season up until May, it said that we had future payments outstanding. In other words, that the club's still out to pay out of 87 million.
How's that possible? I mean, they started off
what they're doing, they're not paying up front. Basically, they're paying a little bit, then they pay a little bit more a little bit later on. And I've talked about this in the video.
It's like having an endowment mortgage. Do you remember those?
Yeah,
you get an endowment mortgage, and all you do is you're paying the interest, but you still got the capital to pay back. And that's what seems to be happening, because when they took us over, we were apparently 100 million in debt. Now, how has it only gone down by what? What did you say? 87 million left?
No. These are actual future payments to future payments to pay off the players that we've already bought.
So in other words,
we haven't actually. Sorry,
I didn't realise that.
Yes, the future payments is 87 million is the money that we still haven't paid the clubs that we've bought players from. So we still owe them 87. Well, sorry, as of last season, we owed them 87 million pounds.
Yeah, I don't know how that.
Other clubs owe us 16.7 million, and that's what a lot of people were arguing about or discussing. The Randolph buy was because Middlesbrough still owed us money.
Yeah, we didn't buy him. We got him back, for nothing.
Exactly, because they probably said. Now, I don't have the exact details of that. Now, it'd be interesting to see on this Souček deal what the actual monies will be, how much the loan fee will be, and how much. Let's say if we did stay up and we did buy him in the summer, exactly how much we pay there and then, or how much of it is going to be a deferred payment.
Yeah, well, apparently, I don't know what the loan fee will be, but I would guess for a player of his caliber, it's going to be, could be $1 million or $2 million, which we probably will have to pay up front, and then the rest of that will be deferred, I guess. So I find it incredible that we owe so much money for players that we bought. I mean, someone mentioned, I can't remember if it was in our chat or just in general, West Ham fans at the Supporters Club, could have been Nigel Khan or someone like that, has said, tell us the last player that came to West Ham that's gone away as a better player. What we seem to do is we seem to buy these players for a lot of money. And then the reason why clubs don't owe us so much is because we sell them for nothing. Like the Hernandez deal just at the beginning of the season, we sold him for something ridiculously low, and he went to Spain, and now he's on his way to the MLS, and they're buying him for more than we sold him for. And we do deals like that, and that's probably why we're always in a deficit when it comes to players. We buy them at a premium. We know we've done it in the past, and then we end up selling them because they're not better players than when they started with us. But I'm surprised at that figure. How far back are we going to still owe 87 million pounds?
Well,
I'm guessing Anderson, Allaire is involved in that.
No. Yes, sorry. Anderson would be, not Allaire. Allaire wouldn't be.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
No, because those are all based upon the previous season.
Right.
So 2018, 2019. So Anderson, yes, but Allaire came in the summer. Fornals came in the summer. So apparently, there's been a net spend in the summer, this last summer. So it's got nothing to do with these accounts, of 35.8 million. No, I thought it was less than that. I thought it was about 20, 25 million.
Right.
But according to this, it's 35.8 million. So that means all the players that we've sold and obviously all the players that we've bought.
Yeah.
But our wage bill has just gone up, on last season. Even though we've offloaded
Well, I
players.
can't even understand that. We've offloaded a whole load of players, and yet our wage bill has gone up.
Right, but
I-
it really depends on, let's say, the players that we've offloaded, sent to loan, for example, off out on loan. Are we still paying most of their wages, or are the loan club buying those?
Well,
The players that have left.
the best keeper we've had in a decade, Roberto, who's gone to Alaves, we're still paying 70% of his salary.
And this is where the problem is. We've bought players poorly. We're paying them a lot of money, and then even if they're not with us, we're still paying them a lot of money, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Tim,
so there we go.
I
So
don't
hopefully,
understand your comment, mate. What was that, Tim? Could you just type and let me know what was not true? I must have missed that, mate. So, yeah, sorry, mate. Carry on.
Yeah, so no, so basically all I've talked about tonight is the club sale. Would it be sold? Are the rumours true? Obviously they're not. But
No.
could they be sold? Well, not whilst we've got the cash cow that's the Premier League. I think the only way it's going to happen is if we get relegated. That's the only way. But we're going to be in such financial distress if we lose, go down. We're going to go from 122 million last season from Premier League and TV down to 7.5 million income from the Championship League and TV
It'll be a disaster.
Yeah,
it'll be an absolute disaster.
And that's
it'll be
why. And that's why it has to be a fire sale, just to cut that wage bill and just to get rid of these players off our books.
Oh yeah, and one could argue that we're already planning for the Championship because our decent under 23s have gone out on loan to Division League One teams and stuff like that to get them match fit ready for the Championship if we go down. We bought Randolph back, Championship keeper. He's all right. He was really good there. He's all right in the Premier League. One could argue that we're probably already, and the fact that we're getting players on loan instead of buying them during this transfer window seems to suggest that the board are planning for the worst. And I think that's a very likely scenario at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we won't come back up.
I'm just checking the messages to see if we've got any news on Souček. No, I've got nothing. No. Unless you've heard anything.
Still nothing, mate.
No.
I've asked Dan to keep us in touch.
Yeah. So I mean, it just baffles me how we as a club have got into this situation. We as a club, how we've got into this situation where we're looking at relegation, or staring relegation down, down the barrel, and we are paying way too much. I keep on saying this time and time again. I remember distinctly the day they took over. Sullivan stood in front of the cameras and slated the Icelandics for the wage bill and the players that were on that wage bill and how much they were paying. And he was just like chuckling to himself, going, that's ridiculous. And now look, we're exactly the same. I know
he's done just as bad, if not worse, mate.
Yeah, worse. Exactly.
He's done just as bad, if not worse. So laughing at the Icelandic owners, it's an irony. It's like I think we kind of suffered the Icelandics because we thought they had a dream. They just ran out of money, didn't they? Yeah. They went bankrupt, didn't they?
Yeah.
But they threw money at us, silly money, for silly players.
No doubt.
He didn't get us anywhere. And then when Sullivan came in and pretended, Sullivan, makes out he's a footballing man. He's not a footballing man, And even when you've had Sam Allardyce come out and slate him this week about the transfer policies, look at the players we bought, and Evra, for example, bringing him in and paying him silly money when he was 33, 34 years old or whatever it was. He's done things like that throughout the last 10 years. And we've gone from one extreme to another when it comes to our transfer policies. We go for we try to get these youngsters, but we don't actually have anything to offer them. you know, these young talented players. And if we do manage to get them, they don't last very long because they realise just how awful it is, and they start looking for a move. And then
Let
we
me
end
ask
up
you.
going the other.
Yeah,
Go
sorry,
on.
go on. No, sorry.
Well,
After
we
you.
end up going the other extreme and buying players who are past their sell-by date, offering them stupid contracts. You know, and then wonder why they can't play 2 or 3 seasons in a row because they're knackered. You know, the one sort of decent player that we've had that's aged older is Zabaleta, but you know, even all of us know he's a season past his, you know, sell-by date. He should never have had the season extended. It's not his fault, but we should have gone out and bought a right back
Oh,
you know, at the beginning of the season. It's stuff like that happens that you just look at Sullivan and you just say, you're not a footballing man. You know, you like to show off and go out. And what was it that was said? You know, apparently he goes and gifts a player to the manager. I've got you a little gift.
Yeah.
You know, got you a little surprise. And like, well, don't give me a surprise. Give me a player I bloody well need. You know, and
see, this is a classic. It's a classic, isn't it, for West Ham? But it's a classic for Sullivan and Gold and whoever's at the helm. Actually, they don't need to know about football, in my opinion. They don't need to know. They don't need to know the first thing about it. They need to know about running a business.
Well, they're not doing even that very well, mind you, they are, because they're billionaires.
Yeah, but what they need to do is actually appoint somebody who does know what they're talking about. Well, and they've tried to do it by themselves this whole time.
But then you do know what they're going to say to us, or what they've already. Well, what Sullivan implied in his interview leading up to the 10-year anniversary. We gave, you know, he didn't say the exact words, but the implication was, we gave you a world-class manager, we gave you a director of football, and look what happened.
I've already covered this. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah,
absolutely
and this justifies Sullivan's existence.
Yeah.
To go back into the transfer window, it's actually really quite incredible, but not surprising that as soon as Husilos left, and I'm not saying Husilos did a good job. No. He's bought some duffs, definitely. But as soon as Husilos left, all of a sudden we're talking about transfer deals that we've become accustomed to since Sullivan took over the club and started doing deals. Because you hear about a target who is worth 18 million, but Sullivan goes in and says, I'll offer you 10, and here's the other 8 over a period of 300 years at 50p a week or something like that. You know, and he doesn't know, you know, he wants to be a bit of a look at me, I found the bargain. Once in a blue moon, with the number of bloody players he's signed, he has come up with the gem or two, but on the whole, it's been abysmal. It's been awful, and you don't run a business like that. And what was it they said on Sunday Supplement? The club's run like a fruit stall. I feel sorry for fruit stall holders. They probably run their business better than we do the club. You know.
Well, I mean, they did. I think the comments just coming in now, but basically, he did the same at Birmingham as well. I got a mate of mine who's a Birmingham City fan, and they are still very, very sore about that whole period. You know. But well, there you go. Look, it's just come back up now. I think Hammerwell 08 said earlier on. I quickly saw the post. He says that he reckons that the medical is done. I forgot. I can't find the message now.
Oh, he was having a medical earlier today, and but nothing. I think they're doing the promo. They're doing the video.
Yeah. You know, so probably. So nothing's been announced
come up really late tonight or be tomorrow. But he's definitely here having it, because even Moyes confirmed that he was having the medical when he did his pre-match preview earlier today.
That's right.
But on your point, mate, if we go down, we ain't coming back up. That's for sure. And I know you talked about it earlier in your show. If we go down, are we a good prospect for a potential another buyer? And I've said it a couple of times. I think it will make us more. Ironically, it will make us a better target for someone looking to get into the footballing world.
Definitely we will.
Because the board can't sell us. What do they value us at the moment? 600 mil or something like that.
Yeah, there's no way that we're worth anywhere near that. No way.
No, we're not. We
Because
don't have a stadium.
We got nothing. We're in
Yeah, we've got
name
no
only.
assets. Yeah,
We're only
the only
name.
assets we got are the players,
Yeah, that's it.
and Rush Green Training Ground. Do we own that? We own that at
Uh,
least.
we
But
do, and I can't remember what the value of that is though. But
yeah, and that's our assets, and how you can say that's worth 600 million. It's
yeah,
like
it's
saying a
ridiculous.
Lamborghini's worth $1 million, but I'm not going to give you the engine with it. You
Yeah,
know, and it's
but
like,
they make valuations of companies based upon 3 or 4 year projections. So
right.
that's what they'll do. So they'll say, right, okay, well, we've earned 150 million this year. So for the next 4 years, that's 600 million. There we go. And we can show that there's going to be that income, whatever. But the problem is, now, if you've got let's say you're a business and you've got a 4 year contract, like an MOD contract, let's say you've got a 4 year contract, and you're guaranteed to, over the next 4 years to get 150 million a year, got a turnover of 600 million, right? Therefore,
Yeah,
you've got a 600 million pound value of a company.
but
The
if we go
problem is,
down,
exactly,
yeah,
a football business
we
doesn't
won't have
operate
that
like that.
projected income
Yeah,
because there's speculation, and I kind of
yeah,
agree with it. If we
yeah,
go down, we've all got to be aware. We said this in the show on Sunday. The season ticket renewals are coming up soon, and the board are going to start putting on the charm offensive. Go on, if you renew, and blah blah blah, and we'll hold the price and freeze the price and blah, all that crap. You know, they didn't freeze the price last year, by the way. But they'll promise you the world, you know,
Well,
and if we go down, I just wonder how many season ticket holders currently will renew. It's 54,000 of us at the moment.
Yeah,
I'd say maybe at a push 30 will renew,
yeah, I'd say that.
30,000. And then Brady lying through her teeth again when she did her interview, continuing to tell us that there's a 50,000 waiting list. What an absolute
But
load
they
of
won't be
tosh.
there. They will disappear
They
as
will
soon as
disappear.
we get
And
relegated.
how many of those are actual West Ham fans? And they're just doing
Exactly
it,
right.
as we all know, for the Premier League experience. They're on a waiting list. They might be a Chelsea fan or a Spurs fan or whatever. They're on the waiting list so that they can come and see their teams cheaply,
Yeah,
because they can go and still buy a really cheap season ticket. They don't care about sitting up in the heavens.
Yeah.
You know, all they have to do is go and see. Even if they decide to go and see just the big Premier League teams that come to us, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, whoever, you know, it's worth their money. It's worth it.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
So they won't hang around, because no one's going to want to pay to go and see West Ham, Nottingham Forest, and West Ham, Barnsley, or whoever else is going to be in the Championship next season. So we are going to be not only losing all that revenue for the Premier League, but even the season ticket holders will turn around and say no. You know.
Yeah.
Paul, good point, mate. 87 million outstanding will have agents fees included. Absolutely true. Because all these rumours, we talk about
right.
in our shows, we talk about all the transfer links, and you can guarantee 90% of those are coming from agents, they're not coming from scouts. You know, so yeah, absolutely right.
But it's kind of irrelevant though, isn't it? It's still money that's still owed out.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, whether it goes to a club or goes to agents' fees, it's still going out. You know, that's the big issue. And because we got, as you say, a non-existent scouting system, and because Sullivan likes to do all this by himself, it's just a farce. That's why they're in the trouble they are. The interesting thing is that now the media, it seems, the last couple of 2 or 3 days, have started to voice their opinions about it, start digging a bit deeper. I think maybe they've just got fed up of us West Ham fans just going on about it, and I think they've started to realise that maybe there's a deeper issue here.
I did a preview for Liverpool site earlier this evening, and I was talking to Jack about when Liverpool fans decided to protest, and they did the what was it called, the Shankly group, and how they actually managed to turn things around there. But what they had all the fans coming together, so they didn't have separate groups as we've got. There was just one big group of Liverpool fans who were clubbed together. They demonstrated together, etc., and they forced the issue there at Liverpool. And look how things have turned around there. It's a shame that I know there's momentum building up with our sort of demonstrations and stuff through Hammers United, but it's still all a bit, it's all a bit fractious, and there's a lot of people that talk about that they want to demonstrate, but not a lot of people kind of do. We can't seem to get like the 20-30,000 fans to do a proper demonstration. And
the other issue,
the
other issue is that, let's say, any protestation that I make, that you make, that anybody makes, it's one of these things. Is it a self-fulfilling prophecy, or is it just by coincidence? Let's say if we do shout at the rooftops and we do protest, let's say en masse, and the club, they suddenly decide to say, right, we're going to buy 10 players, let's say, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Then they can say, well, okay, is it the fans that have made that happen, or is it them themselves? If they decide to sell, is it us, or is it them decided? Who knows? Who knows?
In all honesty, I think they'll decide to sell when they want to sell.
I think so.
And I would love to think that it was fan pressure, but I think Sullivan is such a hard head that I don't think he really gives a damn.
No, I don't think he does.
I think he'll ride this through, and I know people are actually saying at the moment that we're only getting potential signings now because of the demonstrations. I think it's happening because of our league position, and what Sullivan wants to do. He wants us to not go down because of the financial impact.
Yeah.
With the greatest of respect to the fan demonstrations, I don't think it's the fan demonstrations that are making him dip his hand in his pocket, and he's not, because he's getting loans. So.
I think the only reason they're going to sell or will leave the club is based on two reasons. If the legacy project, which they kind of want, or they're trying to tell us, that breaks down. If the kids from Gold, Sullivan, whether they say no, we don't want it, and or as a company, they're like, nah, we're just going to sell up. An offer comes in, or that if we get relegated and they just can't afford to run it, because they haven't got the billion. They haven't got the liquid assets, because as you say, you got fixed assets. They haven't got the liquid assets to actually pump into the club. They're not like a Saudi government who can actually just say, right, here you go, let's sell a few barrels of oil. Bosh, there's another 500 million. Thanks very much.
If we get relegated, if they think we're worth 600 mil now, and we get relegated, and let's say we're worth let's say even half of that. If someone came in and offered them 300 mil, I think they'd bite their hand off. I think they take it and run if we get relegated.
Wouldn't. But that's the thing. They wouldn't be willing to pay 300 million or 350 million, for a championship club. I think the only team, and I don't. If somebody knows this, please let us know. The only team we could possibly gauge ourselves against would be Wolves. When they're in the championship, whatever, then they got bought out. Then the money started rolling in. But I don't know how much they were bought for, and that's the thing. So I know they're in dire straits for many, many years.
Well, while you're talking, I'll look that up.
But that would be interesting. Let's see what the value is. Add a bit of, inflation on top of that. But I would say, if we're down in the championship, I think they'd be very lucky to get more than 100 million.
Wolves were bought in 2016 for £45 million.
There you go. So my point exactly. My point exactly. You're going to have a squad that's going to be decimated. You're going to have a fire sale. You're going to have no residual value in that. You've got no assets. So do you know what 45 million? That sounds like a lot of money compared to what we would be worth.
They'll think we're, the only way they'll consider selling for 45 million is if we drop down from the Championship to League One.
Yeah.
and we'll be what was it? Someone said in the chat the other day, would be the next Coventry, you know, or the next Leeds. That was you.
Me.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. I don't know, mate. It's
do you know Coventry was the first football game I ever went to? I was about 4 years old.
I was going to ask you why, but now I'll let you off.
Oh, I lived up in the Midlands. My dad took us to see Man United and Coventry. I was about 4 years old.
Right.
It was weird. It was weird, actually, because I couldn't see anything. It was a winter's night. It was dark. It was pissing rain. God knows why my dad took me to go and see bloody Coventry. He liked Coventry, my dad, and he liked Nottingham Forest. I don't know why. He liked them both.
Proper teams.
But then he said, he also said, you know, watch West Ham, son. They're good. You know, and then we won the cup in '75, and he had me on his knee, I think, and he was like, "Go on, yeah, don't do the Man United or anything like that. Do the West Ham." So there we go. I blame my dad.
And there we go. Long dark tunnel. Now market value of Wolves is nearly 300 mil.
Well, there you go.
So
that's the only reason is because they're on the Premier League, haven't they?
They're in the Premier League and they're on their own ground.
Yeah.
Apart from that, yeah.
So I don't know where all this high valuation of West Ham comes from, because there's nothing there. There can't be. There's no way that they're. That's why I think they're in cloud cuckoo land. Those two, they really are.
That's obviously an Anton comment. Was that in the 1950s, Alf?
You cheeky so-and-so. How very dare you? How very dare you? I'm younger than Stell.
Yeah, you are actually. So there you go.
I'm younger than Stell. I know I look a lot older. But that's because I keep on making West Ham videos. That's why, for Irons United.
Don't worry, I'm going to get to your stage then soon, mate.
If I just stuck to my motorbikes, I'd be a much happier person.
Joe,
I blame Stell for dragging me on here talking about bloody West Ham accounts.
Exactly, and you love it. You love it. Joe, look, Jimmy Hill, I remember him on Match of the Day. There you go, mate. See, I told you, planning is key.
Yeah, I couldn't read my own notes. I started. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I was going. Hold on, wait a minute. I've lost myself. Who knows? Anyway, look. What can we say? Look, I think, as I say, for me, the only club that we can gauge ourselves against is Wolves. You say they were bought for 45 million. They were, a club, but they still had assets. We've got no assets. We've got a depreciating asset in the squad. 300 million, 600 million on your bike. There's no way we're worth that.
Well, this is probably a comment here is probably why they think we are worth this.
That's right.
Justin saying it's the London brand that the board want to cash in on, which is you're right, Justin. Yeah. Which is probably why they think we're worth as much as they say.
Yeah, that's right. Because they're looking at that. They're saying that, attaching the brand to the Olympic Stadium, which they don't know. But again, they're offsetting that against future potential. The future potential is that they could own that stadium or be given it, because
I was just about to ask you that.
Thorn in the side of the taxpayer.
Do you think that they're waiting for that stadium to sell?
Absolutely.
And do you think that they'll risk even relegation to still buy the stadium?
They don't care.
No, yeah, I agree.
They don't care, because all they'll do is just say, get rid of the players. The rent on the stadium goes down to $1 million and a half anyway. We're only paying $2.5 million anyway, so that goes down. They'll fight it out in the championship, even if it goes down to a couple of seasons down there. They won't care, because what they do, they just buy. Once they get the stadium, that's when they'll look at selling the club, and it's only then, without penalties. Once they get to a stage, they don't have to.
18 months to go, mate. 18 months to go. They're clinging on for dear life. Which is why, as I said earlier when I came on, we'll get loan signings, and then if we stay up and those loan signings work, they'll be our summer signings, and I think that'll be that. That's another year to go for them, and they don't have to fork out any more money. They might fork out another, I don't know, 30, 40 million in transfer fees, and that'll be that. And then, of course, when they do get ready to buy the stadium, they'll turn around and say, well, we just bought the stadium. We want to call it your home. we've got no money for any more
Yeah.
players. You know, it's
Yeah.
all about being asset rich. You know, because they're, you know, as what I mean, I was going to go back to the point about how we sort of seem to have made a loss when we've sold our stadium and all the operating costs that were related to it. We have hardly any operating costs at this stadium, and we pay, what is it, 3 million a year for it.
2.5 million,
we don't.
Two and a half.
We don't pay for the stewards. All right. One could argue that we only use it 19 times a year, maybe 20 if we're lucky to get a cup game there.
Sure.
And we don't pay for the stewards. We don't take the money for drink and food there. But other than that, the operating, we pay a pittance compared to the operating costs at the bowling. So we saved a shitload of money there.
Yeah.
All those players that have left that we've got off the wage bill, and we haven't bought in as many in the summer. So when the accounts came out and it said that we made a loss, I was dumbstruck. You know, I thought, you know, what sort of account management is going on to actually, you know, show us a loss? I bet you, if you scrutinise it hard enough, I bet you a lot of that loss is because of us having to pay the interest on the loan that they've given us.
Oh yeah, well that's all tied up into it. And the actual commercial revenue and the revenue from the shop, let's say, and everything, it's hardly anything. It's actually hardly anything at all. You know, we're talking a 2 or 3 million, 4 million here max, isn't nothing more than that. Actually, the most of the expenditure is on wages, definitely. So when somebody tried to refute that the other day, they're actually wrong. The wage bill is high. Even now, even though we've offloaded a lot of players, it still is really high. Because but that's the same for all Premier League teams. The wage bill accounts for a massive percentage of you know, the finances. But yeah, absolutely right. Because the club are in such a, you know, they're being you know, strangled by, you know, Gold and Sullivan to pay this debt back. That's why all the interest on this debt back. That's why you know, we're in a worse situation as a club than we would have been. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, yeah, right. So, well, I think that's it really for tonight. Unless you've got any late breaking news for me, Stel.
Hang on a minute. Hello. No, is he not signed yet? Fuck me. No news. No
news, but no news is good news.
Not when it comes to us, mate. No.
Well, listen.
Well, Stuchek, apparently he has had his. We know he's had his medical because even, you know, we said earlier, even Moyes confirmed that in his press conference earlier. They're just fiddling around with the bloody promo, aren't they? That video.
Yeah.
You know, the next
last minute contract details.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll probably be tomorrow. But I'm just and apparently Moyes said that we've made another firm bid, but he didn't talk about what type of player it was. So, you know, it's not difficult to work out, is it? We've got a box-to-box midfielder that we've been crying out for. We're going to get a right back or we're going to get a striker, and that'll be our lot. And they're all going to be on loan.
Well, hey, look, I don't mind the loan thing right now because, especially where we're at.
Apparently, we're pushing for Piatek. Is he of AC Milan?
Yeah, AC Milan. I saw that as well.
And apparently, he's gone. I'm not going there. You must be kidding. So let's see.
Has he really?
Well, you know, it depends on what story you read. Apparently, we're in hard for him, a loan to buy. But apparently, he doesn't favour it. So there you go.
Okay. Right. Anyway, thanks for everybody in the chat. Sorry we haven't actually, or I haven't got to reading so many of you tonight. It's just been a lot to talk about. Obviously, you could see I did my homework, honestly, guys. But you know, I tried to explain as best as I could.
Did you say all the things that Anton told you to say? I hope not.
Yeah. Well, I kind of did, but then I sort of reworded it in my own way to make it more understandable.
Not in Scottish, in proper English.
Yeah, right? But I think maybe in hindsight, I should have just read it out what he gave me.
No, you were right not to.
I think I got a bit lost somewhere. Let me know, everybody, if I got a little bit lost there. I think I was correct in what I was saying. Anyway, if I've made a mistake, I do hold my hand up. I do apologise. I'm trying to make head or tail of this, just like everybody else. But just one final thing, just to reiterate, just to say again, that the accounts are not now, they're not current accounts, they're from last year, so they're already out of date in terms of what we're talking about. They don't even cover the transfers that were made in the summer. So in terms of wage bills and percentages and all that kind of stuff, we actually have no idea what that is right now. It could be worse, could be more, or it could be less, or it could be about the same. We just don't know. But anyway, so that's that. If we get relegated, it's going to be a shit show. If we keep the owners, it's going to be a shit show. If we just about survive, it's going to be a shit show because nothing's going to change. That's the problem.
Yeah,
if we
but we're
survive,
going to be. You know what? After the game tomorrow night, we're going to think we're going to be, top of the world because we'll be the first team to beat Liverpool.
Yeah,
this
I
season.
agree. Yeah, and then we'll get spanked by Brighton.
And then we'll get absolutely spanked by, we'll lose 4-0 to fucking Brighton. That's what'll happen. But
right, anyway, so that's it. Look, a championship is a sorry place to be, and we don't want to be there. But it might be
more
the only
games.
place.
More games for your season ticket money, though, mate.
Well, look, I'll tell you what I forgot to ask you. So actually, if they start coming around for season tickets, right? First of all, how many are going to take up the season tickets? But also, when people take up the season tickets, they going to wait to the end of the season to see how we do?
Everyone, they give you a deadline before the end of the season, don't they? I can't remember what it is. If anyone knows, then please tell us because I remember trying to wait last season
before the end of the season as well. I can't remember. It was end of April, beginning of I can't
something
remember.
like that. Yeah, the season was still going. And can you imagine if we're down to the last 2 or 3 games? And we still have to stay up. We hadn't already been relegated, and we're fighting to stay up. And they keep sending you those poxy emails reminding you to renew. Oh, good grief! It'd be a carnage. But either way, I'm renewing. I know I'm mad, but there you go.
No, I will as well. I will.
Yeah.
I'll be paying double trouble for me and my
because the away games will be super fun. Millwall, Leeds, you name them.
No, they'll be
anyway.
It'll be fun. And as far as I'm concerned, a game's a game. Doesn't matter where we're at. Yeah, well, it does really, doesn't it?
Well, it does.
I'm trying to be positive here. Look, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, look, Joan, I'm going to read out Joan's thing because she said something here. She goes, "I've got my money on a win tomorrow." Joan,
so have we, Joan.
Joan, look at me. Save your money, love. Keep it in your purse.
Joan,
do not go down to the bookies and put any money on.
Joan,
doesn't matter what expert.
Actually,
and you say
Joan,
an expert has tipped you off. Please do not listen to Stal or Anton. They know nothing about football. Nothing.
Joan, put a tenner on it. You're talking to a Coventry fan. He admitted it himself earlier.
Coventry.
Wasn't it Coventry you said your old man took you to? Come on.
No, my old man was a Coventry fan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, all right.
My old man was a Coventry fan and a Forest fan. How can you be both? In fact, I always ask him that. So how can you be both? Or how could you be both? He said, I don't know. I just liked them both, really, at the time. You know what I mean? There we go.
Oh, Dan, nice one, mate. K for tomorrow's post-game video when you're not even going to be there. Thank you for that, sir. Unless you're turning up, Daniel. Better do.
All right.
So, so that's anyway, Dan Love. All right, are we going? Right. Am I going to stop talking
Alf, shit? How dare you? How very dare you? Anyway, look, thumbs up on the video, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I think it's saying there in the ticker tape thing there. And please leave loads of comments after us. Thanks very much for the chat. That's been fantastic. And thanks for man in the chat. Whoever's in the background, I think it's Anton, isn't it? Man in the chat. I don't know.
Not doing a very good job of it, though, mate.
I don't know. He's just put lots of thumbs up now. Okay, I'm not thanking you. I'm thanking everybody else in the chat. So there you go. That's the accounts. That's a club sale. That's staying in the Premier League, how much we earn, and that's if we go down the Championship. That's how much we'll lose. That's how much we'll earn. There we go. We've got a player coming in, Souček. I'm sure of it. And that's it. We are going to face Liverpool tomorrow night, and we're going to win. We're going to win
2-1 West Ham.
Oh yeah, I tell you what. I said 1-1 last night in the preview. I'm going to change my mind again.
You can't win with a draw, Ralph. I don't know if you know the rules of football, but a 1-1 won't be.
Apparently, I know nothing about football, so there we go.
Well, you know a lot more than Anton does. He supports Queen of the South.
I'm going to go for a cheeky 1-0. A cheeky 1-0. Thanks very much. Right. Good night, everybody. Good night. Thanks very much for watching. And see you again. I'm sure we'll see you for all the post-match stuff coming very soon. More grumbles, more oi-ois, more confidentials, whatever. Stel's show on the Sunday. It is going to be live on Sunday, isn't it, Stel?
Yeah, I'm going to try and do it live. That'd be
not live, but it will be there. Whatever.
He'll be there on Sunday. Yeah.
So watch out for that. We're pretty much doing a video every night or every other night for you. A lot of live.
Watch out for Did you mention the transfer show? We're going to have a massive transfer show on.
Good point.
Friday night. Yeah.
Friday night.
Lots of guests. Lots of
7 o'clock onwards. Yeah. All the way until the end of the transfer deadline. We're going to have live broadcast. It's almost going to be wrestling tag team. We're going to get people in, drag them out. We're going to have guests galore. Yeah.
Basically, what we're going to do for you, we're going to start the show by giving you an update on all the latest news, transfers that we've been made aware of. And as the evening goes on, we'll be telling you that transfer target has now gone to Liverpool. That transfer target has now gone to Chelsea. Yeah. That transfer target has now gone to Sheffield United or whatever. Oh, we've got no one left.
Right.
And that's what we'll do. We'll start. Go on, mate. Sorry.
Which special guests have we got? Because I know one of our special guests.
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name.
Right. Okay. Shall I tell everybody?
Go on then.
Watch out for it, everybody. Nobody knew he was a West Ham fan until he came to England.
There you go. Dan's told us already. It's Ozzy Osbourne.
No, Ozzy Osbourne. Please. He's a Villa fan, isn't he? No.
No, I don't know. Dan's kidding.
Right. Yeah. No. And he arrived in the UK on a big 747 a few years ago.
Who are you talking about? Even I don't bloody know this.
Barack Obama. Barack Obama is a West Ham fan, and he's coming live on this show Friday night, 8:30. I am there, and I'm going to be interviewing him. Barack Obama, I swear, is a West Ham fan, and I swear he's coming on the show. There we go. Look. By the way, everybody,
I'll tell you what, mate.
There's 69 people who are still watching. I swear.
And we're talking shit.
I swear that Barack Obama is going to be on the show. I've called his people. They say, yeah, love to come on your show. We're going to talk about relegation and West Ham. Yeah, I've talked to his people. He's not POTUS anymore. He's former POTUS. Or ex-POMUS, so I don't know what you call him. Anyway, so he's going to come on and he's going to talk about it. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Look forward to it.
So that is not clickbait, by the way. That is pure marketing advertising. We're advertising the show, and Barack Obama is going to be on the show.
Look forward to that, mate. Look forward to that.
There we go. Hey, Stel, if you want to interview him, you're more than welcome, son.
I'll be absolutely delighted to do so, mate. Anyway, good. Apart from that, the running order of the show is we're going to start off with the all the latest transfer gossip, up to date transfer gossip, and as the night goes through, we will be having guests. Barack.
Oh yeah,
included.
Ray Winston first of all.
Yeah, Ray Winston, Barack Obama, Danny Dyer. They're all coming on. They're all going to have a laugh and have a joke with us. Yeah. And
who's the comedian fella? He's a West Ham fan. I forgot what.
The longer he looks like Dan, doesn't he?
Russell Brand. Russell Brand's coming. Yeah, he's coming on as well.
There you go. There you go. So what's there to miss? What's there to miss?
All the stars are coming out just for us.
Yeah, just for us.
Just for us. We want to bring you a best show. Anyway, look, that's enough. That's enough of us messing around. There we go. Right. Oh, God, that's enough. Right, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. Right. Thanks to everybody who's watched. Thanks to all the chat. As I said, please like, share, subscribe, leave those comments afterwards, and I don't know, catch you on the next one. Up the Hammers.